Hello and welcome to your fourth tutorial on JQuery. Today we'll just discuss some more elements, and to start off, as you see, I've already made a div with the class of D1, and inside of my div there is text which says hello. Also, I've made a button with the ID B1 and text inside which will say click me. So go ahead and write this as well. Using CSS, let's go ahead and give it some properties. Okay, so here we go, we have our properties. Let's go ahead and save and refresh, and we'll get our div like this with our click me button and our text inside of the div which says hello. And now let's go ahead and start with our jQuery code. So go ahead and first of all type in your document ready, just like this, and inside of our document ready we're going to go ahead and type in our $, and we're going to select our B1 button, B1, just like this. And so using the click method through jQuery, we're going to open up a function right here, just like this, and inside we're going to write another code. So this time we're going to select our div, which is D1. Through the remove jQuery method, we're going to basically remove our div from our web page. So what this code basically says is that when we click on our B1 button, this function, which is the remove method in jQuery, will happen just before our eyes. So let's go ahead and save, refresh. Now we see that everything is fine, my div is still here. However, when I click on my button, we're gonna see that the div is completely gone and the field where it was before is also gone. So click me has moved to the 0, position. Besides the remove method, there's also something called empty. So what remove did was it removes the selected element and its child element, and what empty will do is it will remove the child element from the selected element. So let's go ahead and see what empty does, if that made 0 sense. If we refresh, my div is still here. If I click on my button, we see that the text inside of my div is completely gone. So we can go ahead and try it with an image. So in our div, we can go ahead and type in our image tag, in which we'll write our image source, which mine is host.png, and in CSS, I'll just change its width just like this, and I'll type in 25v min. Let's save this, refresh. We see that our image is right here, our horse. When we click on it, both of our elements inside of the div will disappear. So after our div, we can go ahead and type in a p element, a p tag. Inside, let's go ahead and type in something like hey, so just random text. And through a new jQuery method, what we're going to do is we're going to type in our $. We're going to select our p element, so just p, and this new method is called add class, which is in fact actually self-explanatory. So it adds one or more class names to the selected elements. And let's go ahead and select our D1 with its properties, so width, height, border and background. And as it is class, we put a dot. However, we don't have to put a dot right here. We can just simply write D1. Let's save, refresh, and we see that our p tag, so our element, is right here, hey, and it has no designs just yet. However, when we click on our button, we see that we get the same exact designs as our div right here, as another class was just added to be the exact same. So all of these properties were given to our p element. To continue, we can duplicate this and comment on it, and instead of typing add class, we can go ahead and type in remove class, which basically removes the class D1 design. Let's save, refresh, and this is what we'll get. So it's already removed, there is nothing else to remove basically. So it's already worked on the div. Let's change the p for .d1, so our class for D1. Let's save, and we're gonna see that it removes the first, so the div's design as well. let's comment on this code as well, and let's copy both at the same time, paste it right here, and let's change some things around. So for our first selector, instead of p, let's go ahead and type in div, and instead of add class, we're going to type in toggle class. Also put a p right here, so for our second selector, and we'll also give it toggle class, which basically toggles between adding and removing one or more class names from the selected items. So this method basically checks each element for the specified class names. The class names are added if missing and removed if they're already set, which creates a toggle effect. Let's go ahead and save, refresh. Now as you see, my D1 div already has the design just like it should. However, when I click on my button, my P element will get the designs and the div will lose it, and so on. It will work like this, and we can write this code in just one line. What we're going to do is we're going to add in a comma here and type in div. Let's save, refresh. Same thing still happens. Let's continue. Go ahead and comment on this code as well. Let's talk about another jQuery method, and let's go ahead and write it using a variable. So let's name it variable t1, and what we're going to do is we're simply going to write width like this, and we're going to add to it the width jQuery method, which we write like so. So we're going to select our div, so we want the div to get bigger in width, and we're going to type the method like this, and brackets. So let's get it displayed in our p element. So we're going to type in our selector with the p element and text through t1 variable. Save, refresh, and now we see that our p element still says hey. When we click on our button, we'll get the exact width of our div. When I make my page a little bit bigger, obviously my div gets bigger, however this doesn't change, but when I click on the button it will in fact change. So this is because we're using viewport width, which is responsive, and I can do it like this. It won't change live, so it doesn't work in the moment, it only works when we click on the button. So at the moment it's at 161 for width. So we can also add to the width height. So we're going to add in a plus, and right here we're going to type in height. We're doing the exact same thing, it just changes the method. So instead of width method, we're going to write the height jQuery method. Let's save, refresh. We're now going to get both the width and we're going to get the height as well. Let me make it a little bit smaller. We see that it changes as it's responsive, and so on. So let's move on. In our CSS code, let's add padding of 20 pixels, and let's also make our height and width with pixels as well. 300 pixels for width and 200 pixels for height. Let's also add in a margin of 10 pixels from all sides, so the padding and margin are from all sides. And in jQuery, after our height right here, let's go ahead and add in width and padding together, so both at the same time. To get this actually shown, we have to use the jQuery method, which is inner width. So let me put the div in the selector, and we're going to type in inner width, and let's add its brackets as well. Let's go ahead, save, refresh, and so we see that the div actually got bigger because we changed it. Let's go ahead and click on it, and we'll also get width and padding together. So the reason why it's 340 is because the width, as we set it in our CSS code, is 300 and padding is 20. So it's 20 from the right side and the left side. You can do the same exact thing with height as well. You can copy it, add in a plus symbol, paste it, change this to height just so we know, and we gotta change this with height as well with a capital like this. Save, refresh, Now we'll also get height and padding together, which is 240. So 200 is starting height and padding 20 from the right and left. Let's move on. Let's also add something called outer height. So we can just easily copy this. We change inner for outer height like this. And also, besides height and padding together, what we're going to write is height, border and padding. So 3 elements that we're going to find. And in our CSS code, let's change this to dashed, and let's also change this so its value to 2 pixels. Let's save this, refresh. Now if I click on this, we're going to get height, border and padding 244. So this is 200 of its actual height. Padding from top and bottom are 20 and 20 together, so 40, plus the border size, which is, so it's about 5 right here. Let's move on. We can do the same exact thing for width as well. Let me go ahead and copy this, paste it here, change this for width like this, and we're also going to change height for width as well. Save, refresh, click on the button, we get width, border and padding 344. It is exactly the same thing, just that the width is actually 300 pixels. We can also find the margin along with these other elements. So after border, let's also type in margin just like this, and inside of the brackets for outer width, we're going to write the statement true. So this is for the function, by the way, this, and so I added in spaces just for you to see a little bit better. So we've added width, border, margin and padding, and we get that through outer width with the statement true. Save and refresh. We click on our button. We're going to get our width, border, margin and padding, which is 363 and some recurring numbers. So this is the width of 300, the border, which is roughly around 5, the margin, which is, let me check right here, 10 pixels, so the value that we set in our CSS code, and the padding, which is 20 and 20, which makes up 363. We can do the same exact thing with height, as well. Change it to height here as well. Save, refresh. We're going to get the height as well. So this will be 263 as the height is set to 200. To move on, what we're going to do is just before our selector P element, we're going to make another variable T1 and we're going to write document height. So this will basically tell us the height of everything that we've written so far. So with the button, so like from here up to here, if I click on it, I'm going to get 439. So the height is 439 if we count all of our elements on our web page. So basically we were getting the document's height. We can change it to window height, which will give us the height of the browser window. Let's go ahead and comment on these codes. Let's continue. Let's go ahead and change the width and height of our div. So we're going to type in .d1 and we're going to type in .width first of all, and after a click let's get it to 100, and for height let's make it to 150. So using that width and height methods, we're going to get these changes. To move on, what I've done right here is I've made a list, an unordered list with just some brands like Nike, Adidas and Reebok. In jQuery, let's go ahead and create an alert. Go ahead and type in alert, write in our $, and we're going to select our LIs, and I'm going to write .text, and let's save, refresh. We get our list right here. If I click, I'm going to get all 3 right here in my alert. Let's also comment on this, and what we can do to get them each individually, we can use the jQuery each method. So what I'm going to type is this, and instead of text I'm going to type in each, and I'm going to open a function. So to get them each individually in alerts, we're going to use the each method from jQuery, and we're going to open a function with the alert of this, and text. Let's save and refresh. Now if we click on our button, we're gonna get Nike first, then Adidas, then Reebok. And what we can do if we don't want a specific one, like Adidas for example, to pop up, what we're gonna do is we're going to use our if and else statements. So right here, let's go ahead and type in if, and let me copy this real quick. Copy. We're going to paste it inside of here, and what we're going to do is we're going to add in 2 equal signs, and if we don't want Adidas to pop up, we're going to type in Adidas, and we're going to bring this right here. So this is the closing for if, and then we're going to make an else statement as well. And as you see, I've basically left, well, I'm going to leave if empty, and I'm going to bring this inside of here like this. Now when we write our if and else statements, also go ahead and get rid of any spaces between these. Let's save, refresh. If I click, I'm going to get Nike, and I'm gonna get Reebok. So I'm only gonna get Nike, and immediately after it I'm going to get Reebok. I'm not going to get Adidas because of my if statement. And so yeah, that was all that I had prepared for today. Thank you so much for watching.